In the dead of winter in 1959, in the icy silence of Russia's Ural Mountains, 9 experienced hikers set out on what was supposed to be a routine trek across a remote and snow-laden terrain. But what unfolded in the coming weeks would spark one of the most chilling mysteries of the 20th century, one that has baffled scientists, military officials, and conspiracy theorists for over 6 decades. Led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, the group consisted of highly skilled mountaineers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, each hardened by countless expeditions and survival scenarios. And yet, none of them would return. Avon, February 1st. The hikers set up camp on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl, a name that ominously translates in the local Mansi language to Mountain of the Dead. And when they failed to make their expected check-in date, rescue teams were deployed, but what they discovered at the scene was far from a typical alpine tragedy. Instead, investigators were met with a nightmare frozen in time, as the hiker's tent had been shredded open from the inside, as though something inside had terrified them so severely that they tore their way out into a freezing blizzard, without shoes, without coats, without logic, stumbling barefoot into a -30-degree hell that would soon become their icy tomb. The bodies were found over the next few weeks in increasingly bizarre states, some half-dressed and covered in injuries not consistent with hypothermia but with immense force trauma, as if struck by a car or crushed by pressure, while others showed signs of internal bleeding, missing eyes, one even lacking her tongue. And yet with no signs of external wounds, some corpses radiated faint traces of radiation, enough to baffle and concern Soviet authorities, and the injuries, temperature, and layout of the scene led experts to conclude that some massive unknown force had caused the deaths. But no definitive explanation would ever satisfy the strangeness that surrounded the case, especially the way their footprints led calmly away from the tent before suddenly vanishing into the snow, as if they had been plucked from the earth without resistance. Speculation ran wild. Some claimed it was an avalanche, yet no avalanche debris was found, and experienced hikers would never pitch their tent in its path. Others blamed panic caused by wind frequencies vibrating through the mountains, which might have triggered mass hysteria, but that wouldn't explain crushed ribs or missing eyes. Others whispered of military involvement, secret parachute mines detonated in the area that left no trace but would account for the blunt force trauma. Though no one could explain why the government quietly shut down the investigation soon after, or why several pages of the hikers' diaries were missing when their belongings were returned to families. Then there were theories of supernatural origin, of Yeti-like creatures said to roam those peaks, with scratches on the trees near the bodies, hinting at something tall, powerful, and unnatural. And one blurry photo recovered from a broken camera appeared to show a dark, humanoid figure lurking in the trees, barely visible through the falling snow. A shadow that shouldn't have been there. The final photographs, taken by the hikers themselves, showed them laughing, documenting their journey, until the very last image, a blurred flash of light and panic, as if the camera had been dropped mid-chaos. Some locals claimed the Mansi gods had punished them for trespassing on sacred land, while others pointed to secret weapon tests, the kind that left no survivors and whose evidence would be erased by the KGB. But as the years passed, documents remained classified, witnesses disappeared, and even the lead investigator was reported to have later died under mysterious circumstances, saying on his deathbed that the truth was buried in the snow and sealed in silence. In recent years, renewed investigations have tried to point to small avalanches or hypothermic behavior, even suggesting hallucinations, But the facts continue to defy natural explanation: the precise way their bodies were found, the unexplainable injuries, the timing, the fear etched into their final moments, captured in torn tents and scattered belongings. It was as though something stalked them that night, something they saw and feared enough to flee into darkness and certain death without the most basic survival instincts kicking in, something powerful enough to crush bones, rip tongues, and vanish into legend, never to be caught or explained. One rescuer even reported seeing orange orbs in the sky above the mountain that same night, as though something far above had been watching, waiting, choosing its moment. And still today, as the snow falls silently over Dyatlov Pass, nothing grows, no birds sing, and no one camps overnight, because the silence is heavy there, heavy with the weight of something unresolved, something monstrous, and the air itself seems to whisper a warning. Whatever happened on that mountain was not meant to be understood, not meant to be solved, and those 9 hikers, frozen in terror and mystery, may have uncovered a truth too dark for this world. And so the mountain keeps its secrets, and the snow continues to fall, cold and undisturbed, as if trying to bury the horror once more.